Alright, good afternoon one and all, and welcome to the video. This video I will be presenting you how to develop an event-based architecture for MySQL. So yeah, you heard it correct. So what do I mean by event-based architecture, right? That means whenever a new record is added onto a MySQL database, we want that event to flow into maybe Elasticsearch or PostgreSQL or MongoDB or any kind of stuff. So I'm gonna be just showing you the gist of the idea, the pseudocode, and in the part two, we are actually gonna program the event-based architecture. So let me write that event-based architecture for MySQL. Okay, I'm gonna be very simple. I'm not gonna throw any big terms here, but yeah, let's be very simple. So the goal is basically you have a legacy database. You have a table here in MySQL, and whenever any new record is added, you want to make an HTTP request, maybe post, and you want to maybe send it to Elk or Mongo or S3 or blah 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 blah, whatever, right? So that's the goal, right? But so basically, we want to develop a listener. We want to have a listener on a MySQL database, okay? So to develop this kind of an architecture, what we need to do is first of all we need to define a polling rate, or you would say how many times you want to check the database, right? Let's say we want to check the database every 40 seconds. Okay. So I would say polling interval. I mean, it's not polling, but I'm just using the word polling. Okay. That's that. After that, what we need to do is we need to grab the total number of rows under that table. So let's say that's the table, right? We have an ID, and let's say we have 100 records. So row, these are our global variables, is equal to select. Okay. Sorry for that. So that's that, right? Now what we need to do is basically our scheduler. We set up a scheduler for every 40 seconds. We hit the MySQL. So what we do is basically we would like, let's say we will call the function listener. We'll define that. Now here, what we need to do is basically we check the row count. Same thing. We would say select count. Okay, that's that. Now what we do is basically if we check if row count is greater than the row count, that is a global variable. In that case, that you know that the data is added. So the new query to query the database would be dot table name where ID is greater than guess what, row count, right? So that would be a query. The query would execute. You would get the data. Okay. Then you would transform that data, right? And then you would make an HTTP request wherever you want to do, like update it on the Elasticsearch or whatever. That's right. And at the end, very important, update global count variable. So the variable right here, you would update that because the next time you come, it's gonna be that because you already checked that, right? So that's the event-based architecture. As soon as the server starts, we initially basically check the row count. So now if I want to draw this, okay, so very easy. So uh, where we have the row count, at the initially you would set that you would have a polling, basically what time you want to keep checking the database, and then you would just have a this one a check if the row count is greater than whatever the row count, then get the data, transform the data, get the data, transform the data, and make a post request or HTTP get or whatever. And very important, update the account, which was simple, right? It's so simple, right? And if you wanna get really very fancy and stuff, if you wanna, what you could do, you would have a Celery beats running in a Docker container. You have your event, which is scheduling a function here. So this is a listener where we have our business logic. So it's gonna keep polling the database as soon as a new record is added. What you do is you basically add that into the messaging queue. Can be a RabbitMQ or a Redis queue or whatever. And then you would have your workers here, which would take the items from the queue, and then they can post the data back to L or MongoDB or whatever you want to do, right? So that's the event-based architecture. Yeah, in simple, that's what you want to do. Yeah, so that's that. Part two, we would actually try to program this, and we'd be actually sending events and all of that. So that's our architecture. Basically, if any new row is added into MySQL, right, what it's gonna do is basically it's gonna send events to the other database or whatever you want to do, right? So you want to update that just for your cache. I would usually do it for like Elasticsearch, like a lot of companies right now want a data pipeline where they want to any new records are into their SQL, they want it to be Elasticsearch because of the search time, they can source the data pretty fast, they can index the data pretty fast, they want to do aggregation, they want to get, they can build dashboards from Kibana and all of that. So that way you have your legacy database, that is your MySQL, and you have a index database where you can source and index the text and do whatever you want, right? All the business logic at pretty fast rate, right? So that's that. Hope you have enjoyed it. This part one, part two, we would be coding this architecture from scratch. No log stars, nothing. We'll make our own stuff, right? So thank you for watching. See you guys in the part two. All right. Goodbye.